In the name of Allah, the All-Gracious, the All-Merciful. Chapter 25 verse 70, exempted are those who repent, attain faith and lead a righteous life, then for these, God will change their sins into credit. And God is all-forgiving, all-merciful. Short brief of the last 1422 years and where we are now. Nearly all of us are messing up, as we are trapped by the material reality, trapped in space and time, and failing to see that this material reality is a sign of something bigger, as the world around us is full of Allah's revelation/signs for something, which we are failing to grasp. By adopting West fashion and Western culture, we have forgotten what our elders stood for. We have sold off our cultural and moral values by adopting these latest fashions, which are hollow from the inside. In a race with each other to see how we can outdo each other. This fashion exchange is happening in the East, and people of the East are adopting the cultures and morals, thus, the situation has deteriorated in the East. The self-declared defenders and self-declared representatives of the faith in the Muslim world are professing this change. They have said that communism is atheism and is not compatible with Islam, but their silence on capitalism means that capitalism and Islam are compatible. In practice, the issue of Islamic banking is nothing but a project of Islamization of riba. Riba is the devastating critique of capitalism, the real enemy of the faith and the region. The world claims that they are worshipping Allah, whereas the people in the East are worshipping, trying to copy, the people of the West, while the West is worshipping shining metals, gold, silver, platinum, and etc. What are we heading for? We are split in what we actually are and what we pose. We may claim to be on the right path, and there is no split, and we are not divided among ourselves. This may provide us with pseudo-satisfaction, but the world is watching us and basically laughing at us because they do not judge us according to what is written in our Quran, but how we practice what is written in Quran. We normally try to defend ourselves by referring to what is written in Quran, whereas the West critique us for how we are and what we are. The only positive and legitimate response to the critique is by changing how we are and what we are. We need to understand that Quran points towards materialistic spirituality, and if we really want to know Allah and what reality is, we don't need to lock ourselves indoors and spend time in meditation, as these were methods for a different time, palace, and age, which is gone for never to return again. If we are to achieve enlightenment, we need to grapple with the concrete material reality, the world around us, and then reshape it. When one forgets Allah, Allah makes him forget himself. This is not the bodily self, but it is the spirit, which was breathed by Allah into all of us. When this self is forgotten, one produces philosophies and a self-understanding which reduce the human to a biological animal, Darwin, a sexual animal, Farad's, a social animal, Darkin, an economic animal, Marx, and in the end, only an animal. We need to think and act while there is still time. We need to see what is around us, because in everything and everything is a manifestation of Allah, wherein the signs of Allah is the Jamal of Allah expressed in the world of nature, whereas history is the manifestation of Jalal, power, of Allah. Since the beginning of the 19th century, different philosophical of thought emerged in the West, which are naturalism, humanism, materialism, behaviorism, etc., where the common factor is the disregard for the ideational and transcendental concepts. The concepts of God, soul, and the hereafter are no part of the conceptual framework of modern Western thought, whereas on a theoretical level, some of the school of thought leaves open the possibility that they may exist. Their existence and hence importance is neither affirmed nor rejected. In the 19th century, the West, which was shaped by scientism, secularism, and capitalism, was basically divorced from any connection with metaphysics, idealism, or transcendence. this swept across the Muslim world as a two-dimensional aspect. On the one hand, it was military and political, and on the other hand, cultural and ideological. In the early stages, the occupation was a military/political challenge to which Muslims reacted and attempted to achieve military parity by adopting modern weapons and methods, which were adopted by Egypt, Iran, and Ottoman empires. This was seen by Muslims of the last decade of the 19th century as the lead to social degeneration. Muslim influential thinkers argued that the superiority of the West was not due to military/politics but due to socio-political principles. Therefore, they argued that if Muslims were to escape their backwardness, Muslims had to adopt Western principles and institutions, which has led to where the Muslim is now. Pre-modern era Muslims could turn their backs to the material reality, whereas the modern man cannot do so, as he neither has the patience nor he can afford to do so as he is totally involved in the world. The table below illustrates the environment in which we are as the West is now at a high point, where the Muslims were in the early 1200 years of Muslim dominance. Pre-modern Western era, modern Western era beginning of the 19th century. The environment of the Muslim world, the environment of the Western world. The creator of the universe, the created universe. The human soul, the human body. Life hereafter, life here and now. Metaphysics and spirituality, physics and materialism. All the prophets' teachings were essentially the same, although differing in accordance with the needs of the time for which each was meant, since they came from and affirmed the same and only one reality, Allah. This means that the people who have lived or live or are to live on this earth have only ever had or have one choice, that is, whether to be a mu'min or kafir. In reality, there is not even that choice since you can only be what Allah has decreed you to be. Allah is the doer of you and your actions. To you are answerable for your actions. On the last day, you will not question Allah, but Allah will question you. Right now, the choice is yours. Above paras are generally misunderstood these days, as it is said when Allah is the doer of everything, then why will we be questioned? The actuality of things is that para 1 is applicable to Muslims, mu'min, who have totally submitted to Allah, while para 2 is generally applicable to the Muslims who have not totally submitted and base their accomplishment on their own abilities and partly Allah, where we do not get proportionally to what we work for, but all we get in this world is fazl of Allah. The chief method used by the kafir system to erase living Islam is to introduce the kafir way of life into the Muslim countries whilst disguising this fact by describing it in Islamic terminology. Nearly all the traditionally Muslim lands are today controlled and governed according to the concepts of the kafir system and not according to what is in Quran. All kafir institutions are run as a business concern, whether it be the legal system, the government system, the factory system, the university system, the hospital system or the media system, to name but a few. Following is a brief on these systems in which now the Muslim Ummah is totally seized. The basic approach is to work long hours to earn more than what they need, which is made attractive by offering extra money. This ensures that once they are dependent on it, they will keep on working. Further emphasis to want of products which were never wanted before, a former way of life is abandoned. When one cannot get work, he turns to crime and legal systems are introduced to enforce more control. More jobs are created to make this legal system work. Taxes are levied to maintain the legal buildings. Lawyers charge to get one acquitted. Essentially all kafir states are police states, run by levying heavy taxes enforced by repressive measures, whereas voluntary sharing runs the Muslim states. The kafir system makes money out of nothing by charging interest. When the interest goes high, the kafir currency is worthless. The ruling elite benefits by concentrating this wealth. It is a systematized, orchestrated distribution of wealth to the annoyance of all except its ruling elite. Kafir system ensures people are educated in order to work, not in order to understand themselves or the nature of existence, as these educational are themselves like factories, where the end product is not merely a product, but a person who will help make the products, students. Product is programmed to look at the world largely in terms of cost of living and GNP. The Kafir hospital system is run as a business, where everyone is paid for what they do and where their livelihood depends on other people being ill. For large institutions to function, it is ensured that more than enough will keep visiting, thereby ensuring countless others supply the hospitals and doctors with the tools and medicines of their trade and steady and profitable employment. One person doing the right thing or speaking the truth means nothing, and if he does he has to suffer, as he is the odd man out, until and unless there is a group of like-minded individuals ready to face the consequences. Diplomacy and hypocrisy are two names of the same evil, which needs to be curbed out, as it is the character of the illiterate and one who has rejected faith. Faith, Ishaq, clearly defines the existence of God, whereas we cannot understand the existence of God through proof given by rationality, aqal, which is supposedly the essence of modern civilization. The example of Abraham, where rationality was left far behind, the faith when he jumped into the fire. Dr. Allama Iqbal says this gap can be bridged by bringing the wisdom of the Quran into conversation with modern thought, based on the insight that the Quran itself gave birth to the modern concrete habits of thought. We now are not the first to face challenges, definitely not, as many have faced these challenges. Did the believers ever fail, and the unbelievers ever succeed? Think about it. Gone are the days when even the French in the 16th century were afraid of dancing in public. A new dance out of fear of Muslim Khalifa in Istanbul was the grasp and personality of the Muslim leaders. Faith, Ishaq, clearly defines the existence of God, whereas we cannot understand the existence of God through proof given by rationality, aqal, which is supposedly the essence of the modern civilization. We now are not the first to face challenges, definitely not, as many have faced these challenge. Did the believers ever fail and the unbelievers ever succeed? Think about it. We ask forgiveness from Allah and guidance from His to do what is pleasing to Him. He is indeed the generous, the compassionate, and the most merciful.